This is the newsroom for Wednesday, May 20, 2026. We're broadcasting to you on E1, SKAR TV, NTN and TARZEE TV in Bartica. In the headlines, President Ali is warning transport operators against placing additional pressure on consumers.
All stakeholders within this framework now have to play their role.
Labour Minister Keoma Griffith says statements have been taken from migrant workers as a multi-agency probe continues into allegations of abuse at a Region 7 quarry operation. 60 years after independence, Guyana's oil journey has gone from distant dream to economic reality. On this week's People of the Republic, Guyanese educator Dion Glasgow-Douglas explains how her platform, Story Gat Melody, is reclaiming the value and identity of Creolese. The DPP is pressing ahead with charges in the deadly Mobil gas station explosion case, despite the alleged mastermind insisting he acted alone and that the others are innocent. And in sport, Minister Rodriguez pins sport and entertainment as key drivers of economic growth, and Trinidad and Tobago dethrone Guyana Harpy Eagles in the regional 4-day. With the news, I am Lizina Yearwood. Thanks for joining us. President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali is urging public transportation providers and other stakeholders to act responsibly and avoid excessive fare increases as global fuel prices continue to rise due to ongoing instability in the Middle East and disruptions in international transport systems. In a statement on Tuesday, the president said Guyana, despite being a major crude oil producer, still relies heavily on imported refined fuel products and is therefore affected by rising international energy prices. He noted, however, that the government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars over the years to shield consumers from the full impact of inflationary pressures stemming from global fuel market fluctuations.
We utilized the full tool. That is, we were able to take excise tax to zero. What that did is that it give us now no room to adjust the excise tax. And now that the price has increased at the international market, we are asking all the stakeholders who would have benefited from the 0% excise tax to be nationalistic in their approach. Now, if I'm to give you an example, in practical terms, when we took off the 0%, when we took excise tax to 0%, that translated into approximately $500 saving for citizens on every gallon of diesel or gasoline purchase. It was a $500 saving, providing substantial relief to households, businesses, and the wider economy. For minibus operating in Georgetown and consuming an average of, let us say, more than 12 gallons of fuel per day, which is 50 liters, the policy delivers savings to about $6,000 per day, directly improving, of course, profitability and helping to keep fares affordable. Now that we have this challenge and we have utilized fully this tool that was available to us, I think the minibus operators, the taxi, the speedboat operators, and of course truckers, and all stakeholders within this framework now have to play their role.
Minister of Labour and Manpower Planning Keoma Griffith on Wednesday said the investigation into allegations by 38 Indian nationals who claim they were subjected to poor working and living conditions while employed at a quarry operation in Region 7 is still ongoing. The minister told reporters at the sidelines of an event that even as the investigation is being conducted, the company, Ika Rim Earth Resources, denied the allegation. Importantly, the minister said the investigation now involves his ministry and the Ministries of Human Services and Home Affairs because of the seriousness and scope of the claims.
On Monday, I met with the Indian High Commissioner at the ministry, and I also met with all of the Indian nationals. Of course, once we get a complaint of that nature, we are concerned. We are concerned about the working conditions of every person working to build this country. And so we interviewed all of them. We took statements from all of them. I met with the representatives from the company, and I demanded in no uncertain terms that their passports be returned to them by 1 p.m. on that day. Within a short turnaround time, the passports were returned to them. We are now examining all of the issues that have been raised out of that incident, whether it pertains to their contract, their living and working conditions, and all of it. We gave them a 24-hour period to supply us with information. They have complied with it. I am having another meeting with them again today at 1 p.m. This is an ongoing process. I want everybody to understand it's an ongoing process. You will not get, I'm not sure what people are looking for or what they expect, but this is an ongoing process. You also have to remember that I have a strong department that is working, and they're working around the clock to ensure that the rights of every person in this country are protected and that they are working safely in Guyana. At the same time, this is an interministerial approach we're taking because every part of it doesn't fall within my ministry. And so we're receiving support from the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, as well as the Ministry of Home Affairs. And so as soon as we are able to provide more information, we will do so. They have denied the allegations. I can tell you that much. They have denied the allegations, right? It now calls on us to investigate both sides. Of course, the workers have said something which we are going to take seriously and we will ensure, but the company has said a different version. What is our responsibility? Our responsibility is to listen to both sides and to investigate. I'm not going to make an allegation of human trafficking without information. I cannot do that. That would be irresponsible of me.
Whispered across villages, rum shops and family homes, one day we can find oil. Back then, in the early years after independence, it felt impossible. Today, 60 years on, that faint hope has transformed Guyana into an oil powerhouse. But as billions pour in, the biggest question is no longer whether oil can make Guyana rich, it's whether it can keep the country united.
Coming out of that colonial past, I'm sure everyone thought Guyana had a real promise as an independent nation. And one of those stories that people held on to that would propel us into success was that Guyana had oil offshore, and that one day we would find that oil and we would have enough money to develop the country the Guyanese desire.
Well, it was a faint hope, I would say, rather than a fact of life.
Faint hope that we could find oil?
Yes. Because, of course, oil had the reputation of earning countries a great deal of money.
Right.
And we were, at the time of independence, a very poor country.
Right.
And struggling to survive economically.
Right. But how did that story or that promise, how did that give hope to Guyanese? How did that even give hope to you?
Well, I don't think any of us, I certainly didn't, base our planning and our anticipation of the future that we would find oil. It was very much in the back of my mind. And I don't think either Chetty or Forbes focused their attention on maybe tomorrow we're going to find oil and save us from poverty. That was not in anybody's real focus at the time.
When did that change for you?
Well, I personally never focused on oil. And now becoming an oil producing country. And I don't think many of us did. It just happened. A number of oil companies that gave up on it. Exxon stuck with it and found it.
Right. But I came up as a little boy hearing that story that we had oil and that one day we would get it out of the ground and we would be rich.
Well, that may have been some people's fond hope, but I don't think as leaders as people who were involved in the administration and development of the country, that it focused on, in our minds, in a real way. We were focused on what can we do to exploit the resources that we had, agricultural potential, mineral potential. Bauxite was big in those days. Gold was also big, and that was our focus.
But none of those minerals could do or did for Guyana what oil has done. You obviously lived through the days when I didn't, so let me make that as a disclaimer, but you obviously lived through the days when Guyanese smuggled fuel into this country.
We smuggled everything.
We smuggled everything.
Everything we needed, we smuggled, because we were very short of resources. I've lived through the most difficult times this country has ever encountered since independence. So I'm extremely proud of the fact that we've weathered that storm, that we've managed to maintain ourselves as a people with, 6 different heritages.
Do you believe oil now has because you speak about division, do you believe oil now has the ability or the potential to unite us or further divide us?
It could do both. It entirely depends on what the government of any country does with it.
In Guyana, Creolese is the language of the people, but for generations it has also been dismissed, corrected, and treated as something less than standard English. On this episode of People of the Republic, Daniel Swain meets Dion Glasgow-Douglas, a Guyanese teacher living in New York, who is using social media to reclaim the value of Creolese and tell the stories hidden in Guyana's words, village names, and everyday expressions. Her page, Our Story Gat Melody, has become a digital space for culture and identity.
Creolese is like all of our history, all of our stories are in this language. To deny Creolese is to actually deny a part of ourselves.
For Dion Glasgow-Douglas, Guyana is alive in the words of Guyanese. She is a Spanish and French teacher in the United States, a mother of 3, and the creator of Our Story Gat Melody, a Facebook page sharing Guyanese culture and history through Creolese.
Why we say Jaji Bundle? The ship was called the Jahaj that the indentured Indians came on. The bundle was bandals. It was Jahaj bandals. They were called the Jahajis. And that it shifted with the African influence on the language, and it became Jaji Bundle. And we could tell that whole story from just that one word. And that's how our language is. That's what Creolese is.
Growing up, she says she first spoke only standard English. Later, when she was exposed to Creolese, she also encountered the stigma attached to it.
And one of the things that I noticed, not just about Creolese, but any language that was born out of the suffering of the people, it's always seen as second class. And I wanted to shift that. I want Creolese to have a place at the table just like standard English.
Our Story Gat Melody began after one of Dion's videos went viral. A piece about a Guyanese woman welcoming her cousin home.
My cousin just buying from me children, me brother children, me sister children, and she. If you want to come, you got to find your own passage.
But someone reposted it without credit.
Somebody took it and it went viral. So I contacted the person. I said, at least tag me, recognize somebody's work. And the person didn't want to tag me.
That moment pushed her to create her own platform. But a deeper question had already been forming.
Yes, but what really drove me was I was asking questions like, where are our storytellers? Where are the people who are willing to carry the culture forward?
The answer for Dion was to become one of them. Every post begins with this Creolese phrase.
When I start every piece, I say, call them picnic and rub down with coconut oil. Why coconut oil? Because as Guyanese, we have a tendency to only give credence to things when other people recognize it as valuable. We have our coconut oil. I remember rubbing coconut oil on my skin. People laugh at me. You use coconut oil. That time, I use cream. You know, I'm code switching. Then I use cream. I laugh me. Come here, use coconut oil. Now, somebody else say coconut oil good. And now everybody using coconut oil. So what I want us to see is that our story is valid. Our story is worthy of telling. Our story has melody.
Dion's storytelling draws from her own life. Born at Blueberry Hill, Wisma, she says she has lived in 21 different homes.
So for me, it was living in 21 different places with different races of people. And at the time, I used to tell my story as a victim. Why me? Why wasn't my mother there? Why didn't she make better decisions? But then I realized that the way you tell your story really shapes how you choose to walk in life. And so I stopped telling the stories as a victim and start telling the stories as a victor.
Those experiences, she says, allowed her to understand many parts of Guyana.
Everything shaped me. The reason I can tell the Indian culture is because part of my life I was living with Indian people. Part of my life I lived with different people in different places. And so all of these stories, all of these different places really make me who I am. Then I couldn't see it. But when I decide to choose how I'm going to tell the stories, then I realize that I am grateful for every aspect of the journey.
That is why Dion is drawn to the meanings behind Guyanese place names. Like her 21 homes, a name is a record of history.
I just feel like we don't know our story. We really do not know our history.
She believes that knowing and owning that history, like she did, could help Guyanese understand the resilience they come from.
But you must have a source that is a part of your identity. Who are you? Where did you come from? And I think telling the stories of the villages, of the names of the places, understanding the legacies, understanding the resilience of our people, that can really help us. Because we also have a culture of people, because I myself used to think that suicide was a solution. There was a time in, I can't remember if it's house number 15, I really couldn't take it anymore. And I was thinking, you know what? I could just walk, go see wall, jump overboard, and all my problem gone done. Why didn't I have the resilience to bounce back? Why was I like an egg that fall on your splatter? And that is because I didn't know who I am. So I'm thinking that if I tell the stories, if I tell all my people, when they slip a bus, they didn't dash it away, but they took a nail and they kept going. Perhaps we'll understand that that's where we came from. We came from resilience. So it's also about building the resilience of our people. Let them see that they came from a legacy of resilience.
Dion now lives in New York, a place where one can completely reinvent oneself. But that distance has only strengthened her connection to Guyana.
I come to Guyana almost every month. Like, if I feel depressed, I need to come home and just be grounded. Because a lot of times in the US, I have to always explain myself, like who I am, where I'm from, why I speak like this, and it can become tiring. But when you find yourself in a society where you can say anything, I can say la laugh, I don't have to explain. I can say pagli, I don't have to explain. You understand? I don't have to explain. I can talk Creolese, I don't have to explain. So it's so freeing.
She says she was intentional about bringing her children back to Guyana.
I noticed something. I noticed that a lot of people, their children were far removed from the culture. They would bring their children back and they now I'm asking by then, Mommy, me now I'm walking. None of that, they don't understand. So I decided since they were little, I would bring them. When the rain started fall, put them in a bare panty or bucket and let them run in the rain, play in mud, jump up, all kind of things, so that they can become a part of this culture. I was intentional about ensuring that they not only understand my experiences, but that they develop a love for this country.
Through our Story Gat Melody, Dion Glasgow-Douglas is building a public archive of memory, language, and identity.
I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to rethink the way they see the language. I want them to embrace their culture, and more than anything else, I want them to see that in spite of our differences, we are really one people with the same dreams, the same hopes, wanting the same things out of life.
The Director of Public Prosecutions is moving ahead with charges against the other accused in the deadly Mobil gas station explosion case, despite the alleged mastermind repeatedly claiming he acted alone and insisting the others had no involvement.
4 of the 7 persons charged in relation to the deadly gas station bombing at Regent Street, Georgetown, which occurred in October 2025, remain on remand. The charges against them will remain, although the alleged mastermind, Venezuelan national Daniel Alexander Ramirez Perdomo, repeatedly claimed he acted alone and insisted that the others had no involvement. The decision to move ahead with the charges is one made by the Director of Public Prosecutions. The court was informed of the development on Wednesday when the matter was called before Acting Chief Magistrate Faith Magusti. During previous hearings, Perdomo reiterated in court that he alone was responsible for the explosion and urged the court to free the other individuals on trial. However, following an adjournment, the court was informed that the DPP had decided to proceed with charges against the remaining accused. In light of that decision, Perdomo indicated that he will no longer be taking a plea in the matter. Perdomo is jointly charged alongside Alexander Betancourt, Johnny Budram, and Crystal Cruz in connection with the attack. Meanwhile, 2 other accused, Ramesh Pramdio and Wayne Karaya, who had been charged in another magisterial district, were freed in April after the court upheld a no-case submission in their favor. The matter was adjourned to June 8 for the commencement of paper committal proceedings. The deadly explosion resulted in the death of young Soraya Bourne and sent shockwaves across the country. Reporting for the newsroom, Sharda Bacchus.
More when the newsroom returns. Stay with us. Welcome back to the newsroom. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, says more than 20 persons have already been fined for littering as authorities intensify enforcement efforts across the country. Head of EPA Investigations and Enforcement, Surajpal Singh, revealed that the agency began the strengthened enforcement drive in March and has since been seen several persons penalized for violating anti-littering regulations. According to Singh, many of the reports are being received through social media and the EPA's Clean 592 web-based reporting app, where members of the public submit photos and videos of persons littering.
We are receiving reports of persons littering, and we get that mostly on social media, where we have video evidence of them actually committing an offense. So and also we have an app that we would have recently shared with the public. It's called Clean 592. We're also receiving reports of littering from that app. The app, it's a web-based app that we have. It's a part of our litter prevention strategy and the campaign that we have running Nadoti Day Place. It's an app there. It's a web-based app. You can go, you can install it, download it and install it. And as you see violations, like take for example, you go and you see somebody littering or they dumping something into a canal, you can go with your phones, take a video or a picture and you send that to us and we receive that in real time. So as soon as you upload, we are in receipt and we can action. So if you see persons littering from a motor vehicle as well, you can take their license plate and you submit that to us and then we do the necessary enforcement. So once we receive those data, we collect the necessary information. So like if it's a motor vehicle, we collect the license plate and we share that information with GRA, who then provides the information to us, like their contact information, and we send a fine to them. Mostly it's a fixed penalty where we go to them and we offer them the opportunity to discharge liability of going to court. So they come, they pay a fine, and then sometimes they have to remedy the area, but most times the area is already remedied. But the fine system is in place. Right. So far, we would have commenced this like around in March, and so far we would have actually fined over 20 or 25 persons, right? And we have been seeing compliance of persons coming to pay their fines.
One of Guyana's most influential fashion figures is celebrating a major milestone. Designer, entrepreneur and cultural ambassador Sonia Noel is marking 30 years in the fashion industry, with tributes pouring in for her contributions to creativity, mentorship, philanthropy and national pride. Government officials and diplomats say Noel's impact extends far beyond the runway, helping to elevate Guyanese culture on regional and international stages. When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge report, along with sport news. Stay with us. Welcome back to the newsroom. We start things off by telling you that sports and entertainment tourism sectors are rapidly evolving into primary pillars of Guyana's economic expansion. Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, Suzanne Rodrigues, has affirmed that these industries are no longer viewed merely as leisure activities, but as deliberate mechanisms that drive national growth, public-private investment, and long-term brand identity. Minister Rodrigues shared these insights on the heels of the official launch of the inaugural Guyana Grand Prix. Scheduled for July 11-12, 2026, the high-stakes event will serve as the third leg of the prestigious GT Challenge de las Americas, bringing elite GT3 spec machinery from iconic global manufacturers straight to the South Dakota circuit. An estimated 4,000 to 5,000 visitors are anticipated to flood the circuit over the two-day race weekend, providing an immediate shot in the arm for the local economy.
A lot of persons are going to be coming to Guyana for this event on July 11th and 12th. Let's tell us from your end the kind of mechanisms that you're rolling out to accommodate the influx of persons in Guyana.
Yeah, so we're very excited to bring this new product, this new initiative to Guyana. The president promised last year when he was at the race meet at South Dakota in November. He said next year, which is this year, we're going to have a major sporting event. He has delivered once again on that commitment, and we're very proud that we're able to do this. The president is acutely aware of the importance that tourism plays in our economic development, especially in our diversification efforts, and especially sports tourism. It's an easy way to bring people together, bonding through sports. We've seen that in cricket, bringing all walks of life together, and it's an incredible way to stimulate the economy.
But sport and entertainment, it can bring people easy into the country.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure you've seen that there has been an increase in the number of events that we're doing. We unveiled the calendar of events for this year since January. We do continue to add events, but we want to ensure that we give people notice so that people can travel for the events. These events are going to be annual, and they're going to be predictable so that people can plan their travel. Of course, we've made the major investments in the last 5 years in expanding airlift capacity, in building the major branded hotels so that we can accommodate visitors, especially in the thousands that are coming to Guyana for these international events. And we continue to build a brand. We continue to build Destination Guyana as a destination for sustainable and ecotourism, but also as a destination for major events. Our diaspora remains the strong visitor, making up the visitor arrivals coming to Guyana. North America is our main market, but we are expanding into other markets in Canada and the UK and Europe, because we understand that the interest is there, and with the expanded airlift and the major hotel brands, Guyana is being a trusted destination and a credible one for international travelers.
Trinidad and Tobago Red Force clinched the 2026 West Indies 4-day championship title on Wednesday afternoon, dismantling the powerhouse Guyana Harpy Eagles by 141 runs at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. The emphatic victory successfully halted Guyana's quest for a fourth consecutive title and what would have been their 9th crown in 11 professional seasons, firmly shifting the balance of power in Caribbean first-class cricket. It is the first title for Red Force in the format since 2006, chasing a demanding 281 for victory on the final day. The Harpy Eagles' vaunted batting lineup crumbled under a relentless assault from the Red Force pace battery, folding for a meager 139 in just 39 overs. The damage was done almost entirely by the quicks. Terence Hines, 3 for 30, and Jaden Seals, 3 for 39, bowled with ferocious intent to rip through the top and middle order. Joshua James provided masterful support with an incredibly economical burst of 2 for 12, while Anderson Phillip wrapped up proceedings with a 2 for 63 to trigger wild Trinidadian celebrations on the final afternoon. Only Kevlon Anderson offered any prolonged resistance with a gritty 41 alongside Kimmel Savory's 24, as the remaining Guyanese batsmen failed to cope with the sustained hostility. The Guyana Motor Racing and Sports Club, GMR and SC, is thrilled to announce that the South Dakota Circuit will play host to the biggest motorcycle racing event ever witnessed in Guyana and the wider Caribbean. Scheduled for July 11th and 12th, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, Superbike Championship will bring together the fastest riders and most powerful superbikes from across Latin America, Central America, and the Caribbean. It adds further value to the weekend, which will also see the third leg of the GT Challenge de las Americas in the GT3 series.
This mega event comes at a time of immense pride for local motorsport fraternity, following the dominant outing by Guyanese motor racers in Panama recently, where competitors showcased their world-class caliber on the international stage. With momentum and confidence at an all-time high, Guyana's home heroes are now primed to defend the golden arrowhead on home soil against an elite contingent of international racers. Fans can expect action-packed weekend of elite motor racing featuring premium factory machinery. The grid will showcase iconic models from the brands Ducati, Yamaha, BMW, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and the Honda CBR in the heavyweight tonnage classes, alongside the exceptional agile Yamaha R6, Kawasaki, and the Honda CBR as well, 600RR, and the triumphant platforms in the mid-tier division. A star-studded lineup of over 30 riders from powerhouse nations including Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic and Ecuador will land in Guyana to clash with local vanguard. Competitors will battle across two premium classes, the Superbike 600cc and the Superbike 1000cc, with more than US $30,000 in cash prizes, regional glory and crucial championship points on the line. The high-stakes racing format will begin with free practice session followed by a high-intensity Saturday qualifying session to determine grid positions, while race day will feature two grueling heats per class, with overall winners determined by accumulated points over the day.
Hand in Hand Insurance is proud to support the continued development of Guyana's young sporting talent through its recent sponsorship of promising junior squash player Emily Fongafat. As part of this commitment, the company contributed half of Emily's coaching fees to support her ongoing training and development in the sport, officially represent. It's a VOV.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, good. As part of the commitment, the company contributed half of Emily's coaching fees to support her ongoing training and development in the sport, officially presenting a check during a simple presentation ceremony. Emily has distinguished herself as one of Guyana's most promising junior athletes, recently contributing to the national team's success at the 2025 Caribbean Area Squash Association CASA Championships. Her discipline, dedication, and strong work ethic continue to position her for success on both regional and international stages, according to the company. Guyana Football Federation GFF President Wayne Ford has described the recent departure of senior men's national team head coach Thomas Dooley as a difficult loss for the sport locally, citing the profound impact the strategic made during his tenure. Dooley, who assumed leadership of the Golden Jaguars in September 2025, officially tendered his resignation earlier this month. Reflecting on the decision, Ford emphasized that the high-stakes, results-oriented nature of international football inherently limits the feasibility of long-term, rigid contractual commitments for coaching staff. He noted that while the federation aims for stability, the modern game demands a flexible approach tied strictly to performance and immediate national team objectives. Dooley's brief but disciplined stint at the helm was marked by a remarkable run of form. Between November 2025 and March 2026, he guided the Golden Jaguars to 4 consecutive victories. This impressive streak included a dominant 4-1 win over Antigua and Barbuda, followed by a clinical 3-1 win over Belize during CONCACAF friendly series.
The interesting thing about international football and head coaches is that the federation also wants to have the right to release that person quickly and immediately if they are unable to deliver the results. International football and national team football are results oriented. And so the contracts have to be built in such a way that both parties can exercise their right to move on. So it's not fair for us to try to lock someone into something when we ourselves would want to get out of it if it is not delivering the expectations of the nation and of the national federation. The reality is that we haven't made that decision in recent times. Our coaches have made that decision because they are, coaches that are considered demanded coaches. They have the profile where many federations would like to have them, and we have to be realistic about what we can compete with, and maybe in time to come we will have the resources to compete, and at the moment we don't. Coach Dooley is an exceptional coach, and I really hope that I would have had him here for at least two years. We can see very early, not just in the results, in the methodology, the professionalism that he was bringing to the preparation and the organization of the team. This is a man with a very, very brilliant football mind. And obviously he has a very outstanding playing career as well. So he's interacted with the game at many, many levels. It's painful to see him leave, but he also has to think about his ability to earn, his future, and what might be the best decision for him. But indeed, I think the nation was happy to see him being able to deliver 4 consecutive victories for us, and I think that we were very confident that he was going to do something special in the Nations League.
And with that, we've come to the end of this evening's newscast. You can get these stories and more at newsroom.ui. On behalf of the news and technical teams, I am Ozina Yearwood. Thanks for joining us.